What's up, guys? Today is another episode on the BRZ. Today we are just going to be doing some maintenance on it, and I've got some new wheels and tires that we're going to put on. So the type of maintenance that we're going to be doing today is, well, yesterday I was actually here. I did the engine oil and I did the transmission fluid. I meant to film it, and I had my camera with me, but I didn't have the SD card because it was still plugged into my laptop. So I wasn't able to film yesterday. So I'm back here today. We're gonna finish up doing the maintenance. We're also doing some spark plugs, and we're gonna be changing out cylinder 1 ignition coil because it was probably actually about a year ago. I hooked up my scan tool from work that can read the live data on my BRZ, and I noticed that there was actually a cylinder 1 misfire that was happening at idle, which I always kind of noticed that the idle was a little rough, but typically Subaru's idle, like, the engine shakes a little bit anyway, so I figured there was nothing wrong with it. Like, it drives perfectly fine. I don't have any drivability problems at all. But I noticed that there was a little bit of, every so often there was a cylinder 1 misfire, which was pretty weird. And, right now, at the time, the car probably had about 30,000 on it. Right now it's got 35,000. And even still right now, it's only at idle, I'll feel like the car shake. And now that I know, and since I last checked it was misfiring, now I could definitely tell, like, now I notice that it's misfiring. Still, it's only every so often at idle it'll do it, which is really weird. But so when I kind of looked into the BRZ misfire problems, apparently these earlier models, the ignition coils start, I guess, like crapping out, I guess, basically, under more heat from like a turbocharger or just from, like, beating on your car more or anything like that. So since the car is turboed now, the downpipe for the turbo goes right past, cylinder 1 and cylinder 3. That side of the engine could get a little more hot. So I'm kind of just thinking that it might be a coil. So I actually bought 2 new coils. I got the HKS spark plugs for it. We're just going to do all that maintenance anyway, and we're going to see if that fixes it. If not, then I also heard that the engine harness could be part of the problem too, which I'm kind of hoping it's not, because at that point I'm probably just going to leave it, because I don't even want to know how much a new engine harness is for this thing. So we're going to start with the plugs. We're going to replace that 1 coil. I bought 2 coils just in case if cylinder 3 decides to crap out anytime soon. I have a spare coil for that, and we're just going to get that done. So I already took the coils out yesterday, so today we'll just throw the new spark plugs in, the new coil in, we'll throw all the other coils back on, and all I have left after that is just the rear diff fluid, and then we got to put the new wheels on. So the only reason why I'm actually, well, besides the oil change, it's due for an oil change, but the only reason why I'm doing the rear diff fluid and the tranny fluid again, it's only been 15,000 miles since the last time I did it, but it's been like, I don't know, 4 years. Yeah, 4 years since I did it last, is because Matt and I actually have a track event the end of this month. Right now it's May. So May 31st and June 1st, it's a Friday and Saturday, we're going to be racing up at Lime Rock Park in Connecticut. And I just want to make sure all the fluids are good, everything's ready to go. I've got spare fluid just in case if anything happens. I'm just going to do a full once-over on the car, just make sure everything's all right. And that's the only reason really why I'm doing the tranny fluid and the rear diff. When I drained the tranny fluid yesterday, it was still clear. The magnet just had like a little bit of metal on it, but it's typical for any transmission to obviously to wear over time. So there was like barely any metal on it. It was clear fluid, so at least I know everything's been good the past 15,000 miles of me basically beating on the car every single time I drive it. So I'm happy about that. I already did the oil change, that's all good. I got a new filter. I actually got new wiper blades too, because they were original back in 2013, and granted they had 35,000 on them, but they were, I don't even know, 5-6 years old. Yeah, 6 years old now. So it's been a little while. They were like basically just starting to streak, so I got new wiper blades too, just because it needed them. But so let's finish up the spark plugs now, and then we'll work on getting the rear diff and stuff ready. So I don't know if any of you guys have ever done spark plugs on a Subaru before, but they are not that easy to do. I'll show you right now. I'll show you on the driver's side. I'll turn the light on. all the way down in there is where I have to go to do these coils, to do the coils and the spark plugs. So the easier thing to do is that you undo the motor mounts, undo the motor mount studs from the cross member, and then you get, a board of wood, or in my case, I think I've got a 4x4. Yeah, 4x4. And you just jack right off of the oil pan, and then you raise the engine up as high as you possibly can. Now, I originally thought I'd have to disconnect the intake and disconnect this pipe right here in order to get the most room, but with the silicone hoses, it actually flexes enough for me to get it up. The only thing I had to do was I disconnected my manifold pressure sensor because that got really, really close to my strut bar. So I disconnected that. Right now I have the engine drop back down because I left last night and I didn't want to leave, pressure on the oil pan. So I got to do that. I just got to lift it up. We'll finish the plugs. Other thing I did yesterday is that I've had this blue HKS drive belt. Like, this is it right here. This is the box. This is the original belt. I'm going to save it because it's still decent. I've had this belt for literally, no joke, probably about 4 years. Like, I'm not even lying when I say 4 years. I've had it for like literally 4 years. Never put it on. I literally always just left it up there, like in like literally storage, because I never just wanted to take it off, like, take the old one off. And plus, down here where the crank pulley is and where like the exhaust like headers like up pipe comes, it's like a really small area, so I didn't think I'd be able to get the old belt off and the new belt on without taking the whole manifold and the turbo and stuff off, so I just never dealt with it. But I was trying to change out this clamp. I already had this off, so I was like, you know what, screw it, let me see if I can get the belt off. I was able to get it off. I got this belt on, no problem. So now I have a nice new drive belt. There wasn't anything wrong with the old one, didn't even squeal, so that's why I'm saving it just as a replacement. And now I just have this belt on that I finally put on after literally, no joke, like 4 years of owning it. So now, the other thing I noticed was this hose, this silicone hose right here. I don't know if you'll really be able to tell, but right here, let's see if it'll focus, kind of. Right here, there's actually a cut that goes through. Let's just say if this is like a 2 or 3 layer, let's just say this is a 3-layer silicone coupler, it's cut through 2 of them and it just has like 1 like layer of it left. Like, it's not all the way through, but I definitely want to change this out before the track event, because my luck my luck with obviously all the heat that comes into racing on the track and all that goes on, my luck, that thing's gonna burst, and then I'm gonna have a giant boost leak, and I'm gonna be out. I will be out of like the competition just for however long this will last me. So I don't want that to be my deciding factor if I get to go out and racing or not. So these things are cheap enough. I actually might have one here, I'm not really sure, but these are cheap enough. It'll probably be like $5 to replace this. So I'm gonna get, if I don't have a replacement one, I'm gonna order one tomorrow, just so I have one, and that's not my problem. That's not my I can't go racing anymore problem. So I gotta fix that. The downpipe to the turbo still leaks, even putting on this new clamp. I think I need to clock the downpipe a little bit differently. So what I have to do is that I've got another V-band clamp down here. So I'm gonna loosen that V-band clamp to try and get the downpipe to rotate a little bit this way. And then that should make it sit more flush with the turbo, because right now with the clamp off, it's a little bit like that. Like, it's not fully, like if this is lined up with the turbo, it's like that a little bit. So I'm thinking that's what's causing the leak. Even after putting this new clamp on and clamping like the crap out of it to try and get it to seal, it still leaks out of it. So I'm gonna loosen up this one again almost all the way just to get some like wiggle room. I'm gonna do the same with the one down there. I'm gonna take this back off, unfortunately, so maybe at that point I'll show you the crack, and then we will just go on from there. I'll try and get the downpipe to turn, and at the same time we'll still do the spark plugs. Right now I gotta jack the engine back up. I'll probably take this off first, then I'll jack the engine back up so I can get to the spark plug areas, and I'll show you whatever tools I'm gonna use to try and get into that small little area. So let's do it. Alright, so before what I was saying about the crack in the silicone hose, you can see it right here. Let's see if it'll focus. There we go. Yeah, right there. Now that doesn't go all the way through, but it goes, you know, pretty deep in there, and I don't want that to be my the risk of me going out there and racing, and then all of a sudden this thing bursts, I lose boost, I lose power, and then I'm screwed for the rest of, like, you know, who knows how long that'll last when I'm out there racing. I don't want that to be my deciding factor of me racing, so I'm gonna have to try and find a replacement, you know, buy a replacement, or see if I actually have one that'll replace that. So now I have this out of the way. Now it'll show the downpipe. So now it's going to be a little difficult for me to try and get to that V-band clamp right there. It looks awkwardly like not in a good area to try and loosen it. But now this one's wide open, so I'm going to loosen this one a little bit. And we're going to go from there. I think I might save this for a little bit later. I think I'm just going to try and tackle the spark plugs right now, and then move on to the downpipe afterwards. So I have it as high up as it'll go because the strut tower is in the way. I mean, not the strut tower, the strut brace is in the way. But now it frees up a lot of space, well, not a lot, but a lot compared to what it was, to get to these plugs that are in here, which I can't really show because it's so small of an area. So obviously it's a boxer engine, so head's right here, head is right here. So spark plugs go in this way, and then obviously that way on either side. So obviously cars have frames, so that's in the way. But luckily, at least Subaru helped out a little bit, and they give you like a little bit of an indent in the back here. Can't really tell because I've got my air fuel harness in the way. Right here, there's a little bit of an indent in the frame, and that's so you can get this rear coil out. And then the front coil just comes out like usual. It's right down in that area, straight in the camera view. It's gonna be a little bit hard to try and film because there's literally no space, not even for like tools to fit down there. So it's just gonna be a test to see what size extension I need to try and get these spark plugs out. Like I said, I'm running the HKS plugs. I still have the factory ones in there right now, and I've read and I've heard that the factory plugs are perfectly fine, and especially since you could get like 4 of them for like 20 bucks when these are like literally 20 bucks each. But I decided just to say screw it, and I went with the HKS plugs. They're actually like really small, like smaller than like a typical like spark plug. Like this, like the hex size of it is for like a 14mm socket. So I got to work on getting these old plugs out, and then we could throw these new ones in. Alright, so right now I'm just going to start with, I'm going to just show you on what I'm going to call the easy side, where they actually are. So I actually have an extension in there right now. So that's the extension coming out of the head. It's terrible for filming because you can't really see anything. But that shiny piece right there in the center of the screen, that's the extension that's going into the head with the 14, I'm using a 14mm deep socket, and then this is a 3-inch extension. So it's like just barely sticking out of the head, which is like exactly what you're gonna need, because in order to fit a wrench and a ratchet down there too, they don't really give you much room. So luckily a 3-inch extension with a deep socket 14mm is like literally perfect for it. Like, see, that's like flush with the head, so that'll be perfect. So I'm just showing you on this. I'm going to start with the driver's side since that's more of a pain in the ass. I'm just going to time lapse me doing this side. You're going to watch me struggle. Let's see if I can get them out. Alright, so I just got the spark plugs out on the driver's side. Time lapse is going to make that look like it went pretty fast. It was not. That was literally 10 minutes of me cramming my hands down into a small little area, obviously right down in there, small little area that you can't even see. So I've got the plugs out. These are the original ones. Not too bad. You know, they're actually not that like bad actually. I'm still going to replace them obviously because I just took them out. But this is the other one. I'm interested to see what the cylinder 1 is going to look like, because that's the one that has like that weird little misfire problem. But these seem to be okay. They're still just going to get scrapped. I'm not going to like save them or anything. But time to grab 2 of these right here. and start putting these in. So I'm gonna try and give you guys a better view of what I have to go through in order to get these plugs in. So I'm gonna try and set up the camera right here and look downward. Alright, so just struggling off camera after I just time-lapsed a little bit of it. I got the coils back in. You can see one of them right there. Other one's right behind it, right there. This side's all back together. No more pain in the ass on this time, on this side. Now it's time to work on that side and change out those plugs, get the new coil in, and then we can lower down the engine and tighten up those motor mounts again. Alright, so it's literally only been about 5 minutes, and I already got both these spark plugs out, when the other side took me literally about 10 minutes to get just only the spark plugs out. But so this is the cylinder 1 spark plug. So I already looked everywhere on this spark plug, and there's no cracks anywhere in the ceramic, and you know, the electrode at the bottom is still fine. Not really too much of like a heat spot on the top of it, like I mean, at the bottom of it where this is. So I can't find anything wrong with the spark plug to cause that random misfire. So I'm kind of just assuming that it's going to be the ignition coil. So I picked up these actually off Rock Auto. I picked up 2 of these Ngk ignition coils. So like I said, this one's just going in cylinder 1. Because that's the one that had the misfire problem, but the other one that I have I'm just going to keep as a spare, just in case if I come across maybe cylinder 3 misfiring, since that the exhaust is literally right underneath there. So that's what I'm kind of assuming too, is that maybe the heat from the exhaust is cooking this side a little bit more than that side. So I have another coil just in case if cylinder 3 decides to start misfiring, and you know, I definitely will know for sure if the misfire goes away once I put that new coil in. So if I do know that, then you know, if cylinder 3 ever has the problem, then I know it's probably the coil. Alright, so now I've got this side all back together. You can see both the coils right there, 1 and 2. Well, actually technically 1 and 3, but the new Ngk coil is on. Then I've got the original plug, the original coil for cylinder 3 right there. I'm gonna throw the injector ECU back on, plug it back in, and then we're all set. Alright, so now the injector ECU is back on, it's plugged in, harness is reconnected to the injector bracket. So now this side is all done, spark plugs are all set, the new coil's in. Now it's time to screw around with this downpipe a little bit, see if I can get this to fit better. I'm probably not going to film too much of this because it's going to be mostly me struggling to get something on that V-band clamp right there. And then I'm going to see if it'll rotate enough to get this to stop leaking. Then at that point we can throw the cold side intercooler pipe back on, and we could start it back up and see if this thing still leaks or not. Alright, so I was able to loosen that clamp down there, and I loosened this one up. I was actually able to use a long pry bar, which I have right there, and pry from the crank pulley to the downpipe to try and push it a little bit this way to get it to spin, and it did move a little bit. So while using, you know, putting the force on the pry bar, I tightened that clamp and tried to get it to sit more flush in there, because I think the problem was that the downpipe was a little bit that way off. It wasn't fully lined up with the turbo. So I'm hoping that was the problem with this. But what I'm seeing now, looking down here more, is that my wastegate dump tube, you can't really tell from it, like, just from looking at the camera, but down there is actually kind of like blackish too. So that V-band clamp right here is actually leaking as well. So I remember the fab shop saying that both my V-band clamps were like, they looked worn. Like, this is the old one that came off the turbo, and it just looks like kind of flattened out where like the V-band like grooves go into. Let's see if I can get it into focus, but basically get the point. This thing was pretty much shot, and then I bought this clamp to replace that one, but I think I'm gonna order another one to replace that one down there. And I think while I'm doing that, I'll actually take this piece of the downpipe out. I'll clean the surface of the turbo, clean the surface of the downpipe, same with the two flange surfaces down there, just to try to make everything perfectly clean, so there could be no possibility of a leak. And I think we'll just start fresh with that. For right now, we'll get the cold side intercooler pipe back on, and we'll see if this leaks or not. But I'm not gonna I'm gonna not really get too excited about it, because I'm pretty sure it's probably gonna leak again. Alright, so unfortunately, I did have to reuse this one just for now. I did have this reducer right here, but it's the right size for this. I think this is 2 inch, maybe 2 1/4. But then this side is only 2 1/2, and I need 3 inch for this. So I actually really tried to get this one on, but it's also a lot thicker, and it has like the nylon thread on the but it has the nylon on the inside, so it doesn't really stretch that well. So I wasn't able to get it over this. I'm gonna measure this right here, because this is the side that's right, and I just need to get 3 inch on this side. I'm pretty sure it's a 2 to 3 is what I need. So I'll just order one of those up either tonight or tomorrow. I'll get it in within a couple days, and then we'll swap that one out. But for now, just to get this thing running again, just to check to see if that thing leaks, and just so I could drive the car around, this one's back on for now. Alright, so now I'm going to start it up, and we're going to see if the exhaust is still leaking at the turbo or not. So let's see. Okay, so that actually fixed it. There's no more exhaust leak right here, which is actually awesome. There's no more exhaust leak, and even down there, I couldn't feel that much, like, you know, exhaust, like air coming out of it, but I can see that there are signs, like it's the kind of like the matte black, kind of like this color right here, how it's all like sooty. It has that down there as well, so I know that clamp is leaking, so I'll just order up a new clamp along with ordering up one of these, and then I'll just do both at the same time. But this is fixed, so I'm actually so happy about that. So now that doesn't leak anymore, so that's actually awesome. The whole reason of me basically taking everything else, like taking everything in the front off, you know, doing this belt, all that stuff was done because I was taking everything off to try and fix this exhaust leak. So I'm super stoked about that. So now everything's buttoned up, everything's good. I'm going to go back underneath, I'm going to throw the skid plate back on, and then I could lower the front, and then jack up the rear so I can do the rear diff, and then that's all the service I need to do for today. Alright, so I've got the car back down on the ground. I just checked the oil level, since that the car was tilted, you know, forward. It's not good to check the oil like that, so now the car's on the ground, so I checked the oil level. Oil level is fine. So I just gotta, what I just realized right now is that this clamp is still loose from when I just had this pipe off, so I gotta tighten that. We're gonna move to the back, and we're gonna do the rear diff fluid. It's ready to be jacked up so we can do the rear diff. But first I'm gonna show you the new wheels that I got. So I wanted to find a wheel that was cheap enough but strong enough that I could use as just my purpose wheels for only track use, with like minimum street use. Like right now I'm gonna throw them on so I could go over to work and do an alignment on the car. But let me just go ahead and show you what they are. Alright, so the wheels I ended up going with are Kanzi, however you say them. Kanzi wheels. I forget what model these are, but they're 18 by 10.5 all the way around, so I'm squared setup. There was a plus 12 offset, so it's actually pretty low, actually like really low. And they have the option to do 5x100 instead of like I know like Cosmos Racing wheels, if you want like their XT 206Rs or anything like that, in like an 18 by 11 or even 18 by 9.5, they're 5x114. Like they don't have a 5x100 option. These guys actually have 5x100 as a bolt pattern, which is actually pretty sweet for anyone who's like wide bodied and they want a set of low offset wheels that actually won't break the bank. for all 4 of these wheels, it was a little over $1,000 so not too bad. These things aren't forged, but they're flow formed, so they're like a step up above cast wheels. And like Koenig has been doing it like this. I believe Ngk has been doing flow formed wheels, and there's a few other companies out there that do flow formed wheels. So I was pretty confident that a flow formed wheel would be perfectly fine for this track, because I know actually there's a lot of people that race with Koenig wheels that are flow formed. So I figured that these would have no problem being out on track. And then, of course, for tires, I went with Toyo Tire, R888Rs. You know, nothing better for the track besides their actual, like, slick tire that I'm not going to run. But these things will be more than enough. Last time I was out on track, I had the R888s, so, like, the older version of these. And no joke, I chickened out with handling, like, pushing my car before the tires even gave away traction, which is like saying something pretty crazy. So I cannot wait to go back out there with R888Rs, you know, full squared setup. So 275s in the front, 275s in the rear. I actually have this one on already because I was test fitting. So this is with a 20 mil spacer in the front, and then you can just see my brakes behind it. So still, it sits inward a little bit, but I'm not going for a stance setup with obviously the track wheels. I just wanted them not to sit too far in. So that's how the track wheels will sit. The rears will be about the same. And let's just jack up the rear. We'll do the diff fluid, and we'll throw on 2 of these wheels in the back. So since I didn't film yesterday, I didn't get to show on the transmission where the drain and fill was. Basically, the drain and fill are both on the driver's side of the transmission. It's actually super easy to see. So literally all you gotta do is just look at the driver's side of the transmission, and you can see basically 2 of these, the 10mm like Allen little plugs. There's one right here, and then like one right here on the transmission, and that's the fill up here, the drain right here. So in this case, the fill is right here, the drain is right here underneath. So always when you do anything with diffs or transmissions or anything like that, you crack the fill loose first to make sure that comes off. And then, because you don't want to crack this one loose and have it drain the fluid out, and then you realize you can't get that one because, let's just say, it's too corroded, or like, you know, you can't really get a socket in there anymore because there's too much rust. So you do not want to have this thing drain without knowing that this is going to come loose, because then you're going to be screwed when it comes to trying to fill this thing up, because there's no way to fill it other than opening this up. So let's crack this one loose. I'll crack this one loose and I'll start draining it. So I'm just going to let that drain. Once that stops, so it's like just barely coming out, is when I'll throw the drain plug back on. So first what I'm going to do is I'm going to clean the a little metal material off of this. Alright, so I looked up how much fluid the diff takes, and it takes like 1.1, 1.2 quarts. So what I have is, this is actually what I used last time too. I got this Modal Gear 300, the 7590. I used it last time, and I'm just gonna you know, obviously do it again. You could probably just get away with like basically anything that's safe for LSDs in the rear, but I've always used this Modal stuff, so this is exactly what I'm just gonna reuse. So I actually have extra, because the tranny said it takes like 2.3 or 2.4 or something like that. So I think I put about 2.4 in. So that's the 2 right there. This is a little bit left in this one, and then I still have 3 extra because I wanted to keep some just so I could keep it on the shelf. But so I'm going to use one of those, and then just a little bit of that. Alright, so I just finished filling the rear diff. I didn't film it just because it's extremely awkward and also messy. Made a mess right there. But the tool that I used was this right here. It's just like a little suction pump. You put the hose into like the container. Let's just say this is the container. You put the hose into the container and you pull the plunger back, and it'll suck the fluid in, and then you just, you know, obviously opposite way, you push the plunger in and it pushes the fluid out. So I used that. It's super messy. I want to eventually get a better, maybe like a small little pump that'll actually pump it in. I actually found that this diffuser rod is actually not attached, so I can kind of see it through Where did I see it from? I saw it through here. Little mount for it. You can see a little screw. It's just off. In order to do that, I have to take the rear bumper off, which I'm gonna save for another day. Today I'm just gonna throw the wheels on and call it good, and then I'll probably be done for the day. Alright, what's up guys? Today is just a recap of what I just did maintenance wise on the BRZ. I ran out of memory that day, so that's why I kind of just like cut off all weird. Then it's been a couple days since that last video. If you see behind me, it's a change of space. What we actually did is that in the process of last video, we are actually about to move into our new shop, which is right here, what we're in right now. Our old shop, you can see from the videos, it was kind of small, especially with the amount of cars that we would usually keep in there, like 3, even 4, sometimes at a time. And with all of our junk in there at the same time, it was kind of cramped. So we kind of outgrew that place pretty quick. This place is 1,500 square feet with a loft up there. So our old shop was like 950-ish square feet when we just did like a rough measurement of it. So this place is quite a bit larger. We're able to fit like a lot of cars front to back. Like we have enough space right here for a lift, and then still all this extra space. Like here's a cross-trek for Premier Subaru that I need to do sometime this week. But so much more space width-wise. We have so much more like length-wise as well. Now we have the loft up there and storage space underneath the loft to put like cars that don't run, basically the GTI. Any storage stuff stays over there. Same with like the shelving. There's some shelving over there. So that's what it's going to be today for me. Today I'm not going to be working on any cars. I'm just going to be organizing this place because it's just a mess right now. In order to start working on things as in this Crosstrek right here, or even the BRZ to finish it up before the Lime Rock race, I got to kind of organize everything to figure out where everything is. So now that we have more space in this shop, I'm able to show you a better view of the BRZ with the new wheels on it. And here it is once it focuses. There we go. So now it has the new wheels. But so this is it. The wheels, I got to do an alignment on it on Monday. And then it's basically good to go. So for the front splitter, I'm still currently waiting for a few support rod pieces from Fully Torqued Racing. I got shipping confirmation from that. They should be coming in this week. So there should be the final episode of the splitter install, hopefully this week. They shipped them out sometime last week, so they should be in, because it's been, you know, their stuff that they make is extremely good quality, but it takes a couple weeks. Like I had to order a different piece of the support rod back like, I think it was like 2 to 3 weeks ago now, and I didn't even get any word from them. Like I got like a confirmation order, but never a shipment order. So I gave them a call, and they were like, oh, it's scheduled to be like machined today or something, so it's gonna ship out today or tomorrow, which I kind of just thought they were just telling me just to, you know, get me to hang up on them. So once I get those in, either that same day or the day after, I'm gonna be finally installing the splitter on the BRZ for good. And I'll show you guys that I built it strong enough that I can actually stand on it. Before I had it painted, even before I even put resin on it, but then I got it painted. Before any of that stuff was done and the support rods were still loose on it, I was able to stand on it without any cracking or falling off or anything like that. So it is strong enough now, especially with the resin, and after everything's fully tight, I should have no problem standing on it. So until then, well, until that episode, I just gotta wait. So like I said, the next episode should be the front splitter. Then after that, it'll probably be the Lime Rock race. I'm trying to vlog that. I'll see how much time I actually have in order to do that, but I should be vlogging that. And then that'll be the next video for you guys. And then after that, all the pieces that I need to install a hydro handbrake into the BRZ. So I've got new calipers on the way. I've got the adapter brackets with the dual caliper bracket. I got all the lines, the hydro, all that stuff. So that stuff will be coming next on this. And also I've got some extra goodies for the front suspension that we will be throwing on also. Don't know if it'll be the same video, but it'll be coming up right after the Lime Rock race, which is May 31st and June 1st. at Lime Rock in Connecticut. So if you're anywhere near the area and you want to see the BRZ and I out on track, it's open to anybody. Like, you could go show up and just watch. I don't think they charge for it. I think it's free just to go in for that weekend, but I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me on that. So if you want to come see us out on track, definitely come by. Either take some photos, come say hi to me, take a look at the car, do whatever you want. I definitely recommend coming out to just come watch. Hopefully it'll be a nice weekend. I'm really hoping it's going to be like a day like today. It's like 75 degrees out and pure sun. It's great. But until then, I'll see you later. Thank you so much for watching. Hit that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you in the next video. See ya.